Well, good morning. I'm Jim O'Halloran, President and CEO of the Missouri Society of CPAs. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 2020 MOCPA Annual Meeting of the Members, our first ever virtual edition. Well, I realize this meeting comes at a difficult time amid all that's been going on in our world today. But throughout everything we're experiencing, I continue to be reminded of the importance of the MOCPA community and how our members really do come together without pride or competition to collaborate and support each other. You've been there to listen to each other's challenges and share ideas, virtually of course, through our roundtables, webinars, our listserv, and so on. And while the future remains uncertain, we know that we are continually working to provide you with updated resources and forums to connect with your peers. At this time, let's turn to the business at hand. In terms of today's meeting, I know many of you, like me, look forward to this event every year as part of the annual members meeting and convention, usually at Lake of the Ozarks. One bright side to meeting virtually is that it has enabled some of our members to participate in the meeting who we haven't previously had the opportunity to meet and have them join with us. For those first timers, we're glad to have you with us today. We hope you'll be able to gain some new insights into the society, and I believe we're all looking forward to be able to attend next year's convention in person at the lake. Today, we'll conduct a bit of business required by our bylaws. We're going to provide you with a short update on MOCPA activity that occurred throughout the past year, and we're going to pass the gavel to our incoming chair, Mark Radetic. Now, to help get us started, it's an honor to introduce our chair of the board, Tom Hilton. I know he's a familiar face to most of you, but for those that don't yet know Tom, he's a partner specializing in forensic and litigation with Anders, CPA and Advisors in St. Louis. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chair of the Board, Tom Hilton. Tom?
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everybody. I too am honored to welcome you to the 2020 Annual Members Meeting. Today's program provides us the opportunity to recognize some of our society's leaders and volunteers, and to give you some insights on the priorities and strategies being set by our board of directors. First, I would like to take a moment to thank the countless members who dedicate their time to help further MOCPA and the profession, especially those who serve on our board of directors, the Education Foundation, as well as the Missouri State Board of Accountancy. I'd like to acknowledge all of our past board chairs who laid the foundation for this association. And I extend sincere appreciation to all of our chapter, committee, and task force members who devote time to planning our conferences, responding to exposure drafts, providing guidance on legislative activity, reviewing our finances and investment portfolio, developing engagement and networking events, volunteering at our community outreach programs, speaking in classrooms, and creating awareness of the profession. The list just goes on. We truly have first-rate members who are held in high esteem across the country. I know many of you have heard me say it before, but it's worth repeating. I have served on the board of AICPA, and in doing so, they would invite state society chairs to join us at our meeting, usually one at each of our meetings. And during my 3 years on the board, Jim, as a revered really member, a revered state society leader, was asked to join our meetings on several occasions. Missouri is looked upon as a cutting edge state, a progressive state that's on the front end of what's going on in the profession. So the expertise and vision that we have, not only within our member ranks, but also within our senior staff, is not to be taken lightly. So my deepest thanks to all of you for the willingness to give back, share your time and talents with every one of us. We cannot be more grateful to all of our members who take time away from their businesses to participate in the Society's programs and to help advance the profession. We appreciate the firm and company leaders who support their participation. We hope you will find that the resources, skills, and connections your staff gains through MOCPA greatly benefit your firm in return. Now, I'm going to turn it over to MOCPA Secretary Marcus Ahrens to present 2 items of business. Marcus.
Hello, thank you, Tom, and welcome everybody. As Board Secretary, it is my pleasure to first present 68 distinguished CPAs for your approval to receive MOCPA's honorary life membership. Life membership may be granted to those who are retired and who have been members of the Society for 20 years or more. This year's nominated CPAs were emailed to you, but we do have one additional name to add to that list, Patricia Reuter, who has been a MOCPA member for 22 years. To approve these individuals, it requires a motion from the floor, and we will use the chat function for this. Do I hear a motion to approve this list? Okay, so I've got a first, a motion, and do I have a second? And I have a second. All right, any discussion? All right, we don't see any discussion in the chat. So hearing none, we'll take the vote. To do this, you will see a pop-up window appear. Please cast your vote on whether you approve these individuals for life membership in the Society. All right, so I think all the votes are in. And the motion carries. Thank you. Also, you were emailed a listing of 87 CPAs who passed away during the 2019-2020 year. I'd like to note that we lost one of our past MOCPA board chairs, Tom Shepard, who served as chair in 1998 to 99. In addition, we lost a member from our Educational Foundation Board, Dr. Deb Kirby. And finally, we were recently made aware of the passing of Kevin McMullen, and Kevin was not on the list that you received earlier in the week. So let's also remember him. So what we'll do is we'll take a moment to observe these individuals. We'll take a moment of silence and reflect on each of their legacies and the contributions they've made to the MOCPA and our profession. All right, thank you. And now I'll turn it back to Tom Hilton.
Thank you, Marcus. Appreciate your report. At this time, I would like to ask MOCPA Treasurer Jennifer Reynolds Morley to come to the podium to provide us a brief report on the financial state of MOCPA. Jennifer?
Thank you, Tom. It is my pleasure to provide you with a brief report on the financial status of the Missouri Society of CPAs. The unaudited financial statements for the 11 months ended May 31st, 2020 reflect total assets of $2,640,000 and total liabilities of $1,290,600. Total unrestricted support and revenue of $3,662,200 and total unrestricted expenses of $3,532,000 from operations. Our projections indicate that we will end the fiscal year, June 30th, with a gain of approximately $230,000, which is above the budget approved by the board. On June 16th, 2020, MOCPA held total long-term reserves of just over $1.9 million. The 2020-2021 MOCPA and Educational Foundation budget recommended by the MOCPA Finance Committee has been approved by the Board of Directors in May. The budget reflects total unrestricted support and revenue of $4,044,500 and total unrestricted expenses of $4,002,200 from operations, for an overall budget gain expected of $42,300 in the best case. I'm happy to report that the financial position of MOCPA is sound. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Jennifer, for the finance report. Next, it is my pleasure to invite back up MOCPA President and CEO Jim O'Halloran to share some highlights of what's going on at the Society. Jim.
Well, thanks again, Tom, and this is certainly the fun part for me. Again, appreciate everyone joining us today. You know, if you would have asked any of us at the beginning of the year where we'd be right now, I think it would be pretty hard to imagine the current state that we're in. I don't think any of us would have guessed. Each of us has really been challenged in unique ways, and while the future is still uncertain, please know that MOCPA remains here as a stable resource for you. In the midst of everything, I want to just take a few minutes to update you on some of the advancements in the profession and in our association, as well as opportunities available to help you get through the current times that we're in. I'd like to start by acknowledging two large-scale issues impacting us both professionally and personally, namely diversity and inclusion and the COVID-19 pandemic. Diversity and inclusion is one of the 6 pillars of our MOCPA strategic plan. Our key volunteers made the decision a few years ago that one of our priorities would be to create awareness, recruit, retain, and advance minorities in our profession. And we really have not wavered from this commitment that was put in place. Our Diversity and Inclusion Committee met this past week to review our strategies and to establish new initiatives for the upcoming year. These include 2 complimentary virtual learning opportunities that I encourage you to try and find the time to attend. I also encourage you to invite your colleagues to be part of these important events. On Friday, July 10th, we're hosting a 1-hour webinar on inclusive leadership. And then on July 24th, we're hosting a session on unconscious bias. Both of these start at 10 a.m. and they'll last about an hour. We're in the process of enhancing our diversity and inclusion resource webpage, and we'll be adding more opportunities to that website soon. Also, still weighing heavily is the COVID pandemic. Like most of your companies, we had to quickly regroup and adjust our way of operating, starting with converting 2 of our longest running and largest educational conferences to full virtual format. We launched a COVID resources page for CPAs, which, as you know from your own experience, you've probably had to update as often as we've had to. in some cases even daily or even more with updates to the page to really keep up with all the changes that are occurring in regulations, deadlines, as well as guidelines. As I mentioned earlier, I was so impressed with the way our members came together in virtual communities to share their experiences and learn from each other. On the virtual platforms that I was involved with, I was amazed to see folks really get to know each other in a deeper way and share some personal thoughts with one another, sometimes before even getting down to the business at hand. And so these gatherings seem to really provide a source of comfort, knowing that others are going through the same types of experiences as they are, both at home and also at work. Well, a common theme in the discussion with members has been the mental toll that's taken place on members, particularly over the last few months. As a result, we've developed a resource page on our website with mental health information. In addition, we have a related article in the July edition of the Asset magazine. And we're also hosting a complimentary webinar at 10 a.m. on July 17th. Now, the title of this webinar is Transforming Stress and Increasing Resiliency, July 17th at 10 a.m. I hope you're able to join us for this important event. If you've been listening closely, I think you all are booked for the next 3 Fridays at 10 a.m. if my math is correct. Well, while it may feel like other issues have taken a back seat, we can't lose sight of the technological changes impacting our profession. Last year, our board established a transformation task force, and the purpose of this group was to prepare MOCPA members and their employers for the digital transformation that was upon us. This group has developed educational opportunities with conferences and webinars and written articles, and even created a podcast series. If you haven't tuned into these episodes, I encourage you to subscribe to the MOCPA YouTube channel and check them out. The 4 main areas of focus seem to all circle around artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, data analytics, and of course, blockchain. You know, as the profession becomes increasingly more automated and technologically advanced, we continue our emphasis on working with the many schools of accountancy in Missouri to ensure that their graduates are equipped for the workplace. The expectations of new hires from firms and companies continues to expand. Through our educational foundation, we've been able to facilitate productive conversations between firms and educators working to equip both groups with the resources they need for the future. For those of you that may not know, we're pretty impressed with the numbers of folks that are involved. We have almost 2,000 accounting majors as MOCPA members. My son Michael happens to be one of them, particularly proud of all of our student members. And we've got almost 250 accounting educators as members, some of them with us here this morning. The involvement of these 2 groups in our efforts makes a huge impact on the future of our profession in Missouri. Very, very impressive. Now, with the increased focus on technology, it was evident that the CPA exam and also the licensure model should better reflect the work that CPAs are involved in today's age. As a result, the AICPA and NASBA embarked on what was termed the CPA Evolution Project. And within this project, extensive research was set upon to examine the skill sets needed in the future to be a successful CPA. Our board, our educational foundation, and many individual members provided guidance throughout this process. It was really, really a big and impressive deal. The outcome is to shift what was termed a core plus discipline licensure model into place. The model starts with a strong core. Now, this core includes accounting, auditing, tax, and technology that all candidates would be required to address in their exam. So 3 sections would address all those parts. Then each candidate would choose a discipline in which to demonstrate a deeper skill set and knowledge. Though that would not mean that a CPA is limited to just that particular practice area after licensure. Quite to the contrary, in the end, it's just one CPA credential that we'd be talking about. Now, this is met with a lot of excitement at AICPA and NASPA. The AICPA Governing Council recently voted to support this concept. If this initiative receives NASBA's Board of Directors approval next month, the profession will be moving forward with implementing this new licensure model. And here's a date on your calendar to mark, because a new version of the uniform CPA exam could be reality then in January of 2024. Seems like far away, but it's pretty close. While we can expect changes to the exam nationally, we spent this past legislative session working to change requirements to sit for the CPA exam here in Missouri. Missouri was one of the few states that still required 150 hours of college courses to sit for the CPA exam. We heard from many students, educators, and firms that this really was a burden for those that want to have the exam completed as they graduate and begin their careers. In addition, Missouri's residency requirement was causing issues for students who attend college in another state and want to come back home and sit for the exam. These 2 issues were such a burden that one school told us a high percentage of their students were actually registering to sit for the CPA exam in another state that had fewer requirements. Well, like everything else, this legislative session was anything but normal. The legislature took several weeks off because of the pandemic. When they returned, they ended up having to develop a large number of omnibus bills, and these were loaded up with a variety of issues. Our government relations consultant, Chuck Pierce, moved quickly and was able to get our top 3 priority bills tacked on to omnibus bills, and in fact, make it across the finish line. We thank Chuck for his efforts, and as a result, starting in 2021, again, right around the corner, you'll be able to sit for the CPA exam after completing 120 hours of coursework. And our residency requirement is now in line with other states. But let me emphasize, you're still going to need to complete 150 hours of coursework for licensure. That hasn't changed, and we don't see it changing in the foreseeable future. 2 other priority items we were able to get passed were on changes to the statute governing administration of peer review and making adjustments to the state's partnership audit requirements to better comply with IRS requirements and provisions. Well, with the role of the CPA evolving, our board appointed a bylaws revision task force last year to review our agreement with the members and recommend updates that keep the document in line with current practices. Recall the bylaws are the agreement with the members. After sharing the task force's initial recommendations with you, we received a lot of thoughtful input from members. The task force then made revisions based on your feedback, most notably by removing the proposed changes to our life membership category. And the document is now out for a vote of the membership. As we speak, it's waiting to be voted on. So if you have not already done so, please take a moment, log on to our website at mocpa.org/bylaws. Take a moment, review the changes, and vote by July 24th. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We really do want to make sure that everyone's voices are heard. And a special thank you to all of you that have already provided your input and, importantly, your vote. With our new MOCPA year approaching, we understand your membership renewal is coming at a challenging time. Therefore, our board decided there will be no increase in MOCPA dues for the coming year. We're also happy to work with you on a payment plan if that's needed. To help provide cost-effective learning options for CPE, we've also developed a class pass that you can purchase at the time of your renewal. This allows you to bundle and take up to 40 hours of CPE at a discounted price. We have many new signature CPE programs scheduled for the fall, which, as you might expect, are probably all going to take place virtually. They'll be ranging from the tried and true favorites of the Fall Tax Institute and the winter clusters, blended with many new conferences addressing issues like transformational technologies, elder law, healthcare, and banking. And don't forget, there are new CPE rules currently in effect. This is the first year of the new CPE rules. This year, you will need 40 hours in the calendar year of CPE. And remember, 2 of those need to be in ethics. If you're not aware of it, MOCPA has developed a Missouri state-specific ethics course, and I encourage you to consider taking that. It really does help clarify the regulations and licensure issues that members frequently had questions on, and we have to operate within the context. Well, I know I've covered a lot of different topics this morning, but this is just a sample of some of the initiatives we're working on. In the coming year, I encourage you to get involved with the society in any way that's meaningful to you. There are so many different opportunities. If you need help identifying a relevant opportunity, don't hesitate to contact our staff. We're here to help. And we're here to help you connect with your colleagues and engage the profession and advance your career in the next normal and beyond. I want to particularly thank you for your continued collaboration and membership. We remain here for you and hope we can gather soon in person one time again. Thanks again. Tom.
Thank you, Jim, for your report. What I'd like to do is just take a couple of minutes to perhaps pose to you 5 things that I hope will come from the last 90 days. First, we have new heroes, don't we? And they're not sports or entertainment stars, are they? They are people who are courageous, selfless, generous, who care for others, be they in healthcare, cleaning companies, first responders, grocery workers are garbage collectors. We have finally turned the world upside down to perhaps value those who should have been valued in the first place. And I left one out that's really important for a reason, because I really wanted to focus on it. Teachers. For those of you out there who are balancing work and family and being at home and have children who are home from school but need to be on a laptop or a tablet to be interacting with their teacher, who is spending now 5 times the amount of time that he or she did before in order to keep your child educated. Wow, what are they worth to us today? So we've kind of hit the reset button on that in a very good way. Number 2, we've witnessed countless generous acts of kindness. People who formed groups to prepare and sew masks to give away to others. People who formed groups to send letters to nursing homes and hospitals to those individuals who were suffering from severe loneliness and depression because they could not have visitors. The free sharing of video conferencing tools, and I'll highlight MOCPA on this. They jumped right in and put out webinar content, virtual seminars for free that were invaluable to our members. All of this showed that we can set aside selfish interest and work towards a greater goal. Remote learning happened. That's number 3, because it had to. Necessity is often the mother of invention. Well, when we had to pull the straps up and surge ahead, everyone did. Now, in order to function in the last 90 days, an individual had to access a firm's tech platform in order to get work done. We talked earlier this year about the technological tsunami bearing down on our profession. Well, any firm that lacked an adequate platform for technology was shut down in the last 90 days, weren't they? A harsh precursor to what will continue as tech changes the accounting profession. Number 4, moving to advisory services happened naturally. We've also talked a lot about the move from compliance to advisory. Well, let's kind of focus on that for a second. What happened in the last 90 days? IRS said tax returns aren't due until July 15th. Huge sigh of relief in our firm and other firms around the state. And so compliance was pushed back. What was it that filled the gap? PPP loans and other forms of assistance to corporations, individuals, small businesses. I know in our firm, a lot of time was spent in consulting with our clients and assisting them in securing their PPP loans. And it will continue on as we go through the forgiveness process. And of course, every day there seems to be a new announcement that changes the landscape as to how it stood the day before. So we did move to the advisory side of the spectrum, perhaps even unknowingly. Number 5, we saw the power of the human spirit. My wife and I took a tour of Italy in Tuscany a couple of years ago, and 2 of the towns that we visited were profiled on international news. Italy was hit very hard by the virus. But at night, as it cooled down, individuals came out of their second floor windows to greet their neighbors across the street and just begin singing together as one. A way to find the good in at what for them at that time was the really bad. Way to cope so as to suppress fear and to surge forward into the future. All of that is a metaphor for our profession, which is a profession in the wraps of profound change. Allow me also to take a moment to just thank some folks who were really, I say, key in the last year to me as a board chair. First and foremost, the members of our board, the members of our executive committee. It's wonderful to work with a group of passionate people because they have the same passion that you have, and it's very easy to connect with them at that level. So I thank our board. I thank those which I have already previously, the board chairs, the committee chairs, for all they do to keep us going. I'd like to thank my wife, Barb, who's my #1 cheerleader and has been for 45 years. I would like to thank my firm, Anders, which is a firm that has as part of its whole mission to give back to the profession, to the community, and does it as good as anyone that I know. I would also like to single out a person within our firm who's meant a lot to me, Bob Minkler. Bob Minkler is a former board chair. I follow in his footsteps as that, and I follow in his footsteps in many ways. When I came to our firm, I was 31 years old. I'm looking back at that a long way right now. And what I had was someone to emulate, a role model on what to be, how to be a professional, how to take care of clients. And Bob never told me what to do. That's not his way to sit down and give you advice. Bob's way was just to go out and do it and let you see what he was doing and to learn from him through observation. So Bob, thank you for helping me in my profession. I stand here today in large part because of you. I'd also like to thank Jim O'Halloran. What a great guy to work with. And as I said earlier, a guy who's really respected around the country and at the AICPA as one of the finest state society presidents that exist out there. I'd like to thank the Missouri Society staff, senior level staff who are making all this happen right now. And Dina, Liz, Kathy, Andrew, Dan, and then the rest of the staff. You are wonderful to work for. You work tirelessly on our behalf. So thank all of you. I would like to go on and take a moment to recognize one of our special leaders whose board term ends on June 30th, and with whom I've had the pleasure of working very closely with and getting to know at very many levels. Our immediate past chair, Sandra DePriest. Sandra has been a dedicated member of our society for over 31 years and has made a strong impact on many of our lives. Most notably, she has been an advocate for the profession in Jeff City and for women in the profession, small firm owners, diversity and inclusion, and mentoring young professionals. I applaud Sandra for her leadership, and I thank her. Finally, it's my pleasure to recognize the officers who will lead MOCPA starting July 1 and serve as our 2020-2021 Executive Committee. Our incoming board secretary is Todd Kleiman, the Kansas City managing partner with Reuben Brown. Jennifer Reynolds Morley, an accounting professor at the University of Missouri St. Louis, remains in the position of treasurer. Marcus Ahrens, who is chair of the Accounting and Legal Studies Department and an accounting professor at St. Louis Community College, Merrimack, will be our vice chair. Rachel Dwiggins, Kansas City office managing partner for BKD, becomes our chair-elect. And for your chairman, incoming chair for the 2020-2021 year is Mark Radetic. Mark recently completed his term as managing partner of Marks Nelson in Kansas City and now serves as a consultant to the firm. Mark has been a dedicated MOCPA member for the past 37 years. He has served the Society in a variety of roles, including as Secretary of our Board of Directors, as well as Secretary of the Educational Foundation, and has been a member of the Strategic Planning Group, the Transformation Task Force, the Legislative Policy Task Force, as well as the Finance and Audit Committees. In 2016, Mark received MOCPA's Outstanding Visionary Impact Award, but he is probably best known as the Master of Ceremonies at our 2017 awards celebration. Dilly dilly, Mark. Mark, we are looking forward to your leadership in the upcoming year. It is my pleasure to officially pass to you MOCPA Chair's gavel as you lead the Society during the 2020-2021 year. I know you will do well, and I look forward to working with you during your term. To you, Mark.
I've got it, Tom. Thank you so much. Got it up here in Kansas City. So, amazing what technology can do. Thank you, Tom. Tom has done such an impressive job leading our society this past year. And Tom, I just want to let you know that, during a presidential election year, you often hear at the rallies, the supporters chanting 4 more years. Well, Tom, we're in uncharted waters right now, so I want to start to chant for you. How about 1 more year? 1 more year. Let me know if you're on board. I probably won't be hearing from you, but anyway. Well, good morning, everyone. As some of you might know, I served a 3-year term as a director of MOCPA's board and then was asked to join the executive committee as the board secretary, as Tom has mentioned. It was quite an honor to serve in that capacity, and that experience allowed me to serve so many outstanding people, meet so many outstanding people in our profession and our association. I truly enjoyed those years and those experiences, but I felt it was time for me to step away from the board role and make room for some great young professionals with energetic and innovative minds that I've been interacting with while I was serving. So as I wrapped up my secretary term and responsibilities at our annual members convention last year, we all gathered to watch the Blues win a Stanley Cup playoff game in a hospitality suite. And as a reminder, and I don't think I have to remind many of the St. Louis fans, the Blues did go on to win the Stanley Cup, so let's go Blues. I was enjoying myself and feeling satisfied that my board days were over and my executive committee responsibilities were in the past. Well, several months later, I just happened to be driving to St. Louis when I got a call from Jim and Tom, and thinking that maybe they just wanted to talk to me about a certain committee. So after 30 miles of discussion on I-70, I got off the phone and I had to say to myself, I think I just accepted becoming the next chair of MOCPA. So playing off the line from the movie Jerry Maguire, which was, "You had me at hello." Well, Jim and Tom, I guess I can say you had me by the time I reached Warrenton. In all seriousness, it is a privilege to serve as chair of this organization and to represent the profession in Missouri. My son is now working in public accounting and preparing for the CPA exam. And I'm one of 7 kids. 5 of us have all worked or still working in public accounting, and 4 of us have their CPA designation. So you can see my family has a rich history in the profession. I have stated numerous times that a regret that I have is not becoming more involved and active in the society sooner than I did. I've been a member for 37 years, but it wasn't until later in my career that I started attending most CPA functions. Quite honestly, I got involved because of another push from Jim, who visited our firm in Kansas City. And by the time he left, our firm committed to a financial pledge to the Bridge of the Future campaign, and I committed to become more involved in the organization. And Jim, I'm gonna have to say, you're gonna quit calling on me. Really though, I am so happy that Jim did get me involved in an organization that has given so much over the years. It has given to my family and to me and to hundreds and thousands of members in our profession. In addition to building on the initiatives that you've heard from Jim and Tom today, I hope to create an awareness and engage more members in the association, especially younger professionals who may be hesitant or intimidated to explore opportunities with us. Knowing now the difference the relationships you build in the society can make in your career and even in your personal life, I want to strongly encourage others to take advantage of the resources MOCPA provides. I hope you will help by inviting your colleagues and peers to join you at society functions, though many of these are now being held virtual for the time being. Regardless, I plan to continue getting to know our members to ensure the benefits we provide are relevant to their needs and career paths. It is also so vitally important that us seasoned and experienced leaders in our profession be available and involved to mentor and coach not only the up-and-comers already in our profession, but also to assist in reaching out to our high schools and college students, telling them what a rewarding and satisfying career it is being a CPA. I know there are many obstacles for us to get through as a country and as a profession, which will all take a lot of time and effort. I will work with our staff to ensure we continue providing members guidance and a forum to connect while we navigate through the pandemic's impact on our work and our lives. And I will listen, learn, and grow alongside our Diversity and Inclusion Committee members as we determine the role MOCPA needs to play in creating a more equitable and inclusive profession. I will listen, learn, and grow alongside our members of the Transformation Task Force as we navigate through these unprecedented times. This task force, as Jim mentioned, which was set up to look at changes in our professional years down the road through the advancement of technology, has to look at transformation that needs to take place now as our world changes by the day. I will listen, learn, and grow alongside our young professionals groups as they are the future to our continued success and sustainability. As chair, I will listen, learn, and grow, period. My dad, who just recently passed away and was one of the hardest workers I ever met, always reminded me to treat others with respect. And as part of that respect was to listen before you speak. That's exactly what we will do this year. We will work hard for you, we will treat you with respect, and we will listen to you. And from this, we will all grow together. And by the way, of course, we will have a little fun along the way. As many of you know, I never pass up a chance to have a good laugh and enjoy some others' company, having a beverage of your choice. Thank you again for trusting me with this opportunity. I also want to thank my wife, Mary, who supported me in deciding to serve as chair of MOCPA and has supported me throughout my career. I would also like to thank my kids, Stephen, Joey, and Anna, who have put up with a dad that at times was totally entrenched in his career, but they understood that I'd always be there for them no matter what. Thank you also to the many professionals and administrative staff I'd worked with over these many years from whom I have learned so much. I am excited to lead MOCPA and work alongside our board of directors and a wonderful staff. And as our 2014 chair, Dave Myers, said, and was echoed by numerous chairs that have followed him, I will try not to break anything. And finally, before I go, I'd like to take a minute to recognize and thank Tom Hilton for his outstanding leadership over the past year. What a year it has been. When Tom took office last July, he thought our biggest challenge for the year would be, what are these concepts like blockchain, AI, RPA, and how do we get our members and clients up to speed on them? Throw in there, for good measure, a transformation task force, a CPA exam evolution, legislation to change requirements to sit for the CPA exam, a bylaws change and update, a pandemic, a nationwide focus on social injustice, and many issues in between. We will also give Tom some credit for the Blues winning their first Stanley Cup since their existence 50 years ago. And from the Kansas City side, we will give Tom credit for the Chiefs winning their first Super Bowl in 50 years. Puts a lot of pressure on me. I'll also tell you about Tom that he has such an impressive vocabulary, so much so that oftentimes after he speaks, I need to look up meanings of certain words that he's used. And here I am, known saying dilly dilly. I have some huge shoes to fill. But seriously, one thing that has pressed me about Tom is that in every difficulty, he saw an opportunity. We could all learn a lot from the way he perceives change and meets it head on with determination. Without question, Tom has made a difference this year, and I know he'll continue to help us guide into the future as the immediate past chair. Tom, I'm really grateful to have worked with you over the past few years, especially the past 12 months with you as our chair. And on behalf of the more than 9,000 members of the Missouri Society of CPAs, I thank you for your insightful leadership and your dedicated service. And to show our appreciation, and I wish I was there, Tom, the Society has some gifts for you there in the St. Louis office. Jim will present that with you. And we would also like to show our appreciation for Barb, Tom's wife, for supporting him throughout his service. We know we took up a lot of your time, and your Barb will probably be glad to have you back. Well, at least we hope she's glad to have you back. But Jim, Jim has a gift there to share with you and Barb as a token of our appreciation. So thank you so much. Tom, finally, I'd again like to thank you, and I hope you don't mind me calling upon you, as I will need your guidance and wisdom more than ever over the next year. You were a wonderful chair, and you're an even better human being. This concludes our business for the day. Thank you all for being part of this event, and we all look forward to gathering together with you in person when the time is right. We hope you all have a great rest of the morning, a great afternoon, and a great weekend. And our meeting is officially adjourned.